Welcome to our show. PeoplePro Enterprise for Social Impact is a 2-decade-old organization that believes in empowering educators with leadership programs and shaping leaders out of students, teachers, as well as parents. We have impacted thousands of lives across these years and continue to do so every day. Welcome to our new show called the Inspirational Educator Series, where we interview educators from different parts of the world who have been change agents or pioneers of various initiatives that they have introduced in their school or community. These educators are not only totally convinced about the change, but are also inspiring others to buy into the change through casting vision and leading the way in changing the world, whether it be through implementing social and emotional learning programs, challenging educators to think differently about education itself, or making sustainability a part of the curriculum of the school. Our guest for today is a familiar face in the UAE education sector, having carved a niche for herself as an ambassador of SDGs, educator, speaker, trainer, UN4MUN trainer, and a marathon runner. As she takes us on her journey, I'm convinced that the viewers will be inspired to be a part of the change that she advocates and relentlessly pursues. It is my privilege to speak with Ms Abhilasha Singh, the principal of Shining Star International School, Abu Dhabi. Hello, Ms Abhilasha. Welcome to the Inspirational Educator Series by PeoplePro. We are really happy to have you on our show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And it is my privilege to be speaking through your platform to the listeners, to the audience today. And thank you for this lovely opportunity.
We would like to take our viewers through your journey as you share with us the events that have shaped your life, your thoughts, people who have inspired you, and your dreams for the future. First up, when and where and how did your journey of being a teacher begin?
I did not want to become a teacher. When I was in college, when I was doing my graduation, and I was in Punjab University, which is known for its academic excellence and inspiring students to move on to better stages in life. I did not have an ambition at that time. All my batchmates were applying for these different competitive examinations, and I was very cool. And
Who
why?
inspired you?
So, you know, I married an army officer. I married a commando, and he's made a commando out of me.
That's a good one.
And being an army officer's wife, teaching is the best that suits as a profession. But I didn't want to work, but then again, and this is an education here for everyone. When I shared this, and it's very personal, I hated asking my husband for money. I mean, I needed a pocket money, definitely, you know, and to be able to sort of manage with whatever the kitchen money I used to get. And beyond that, I used to actually feel very hesitant asking him for anything more. And my commanding officer's wife, she inspired, and she said that why don't you try dropping your CV in schools here? And I said, I don't have a CV. And then I approached my husband, and he is the commando that he is, and believing in experiential learning. He said, "No, you write one yourself, and I'll see that I can sort of sharpen it." I got mad about that. Then I went to Mrs. Chatterjee, Mrs. Swati Chatterjee, and she, literally she sat with me. I remember that evening, and she helped me jot down how a CV is made, and voila. Next day, I went dropping in the schools or in one day. That was my first job. I got it. I started as a teacher in Meerut Public School in Meerut. 3,500 was the salary. I was over the moon because it was my money, it was my earning. And it was such a overwhelming, at the same time, such an empowering feeling and experience.
For all the people listening in, financial empowerment is
Financial
what you are
empowerment.
advocating right now.
Absolutely. And this is something that I have learned over the years, and this is something that I have brought into my teaching for my students as well. I have taught from in very privileged schools to schools in the villages. And this used to be the central point, that if something happens to the soldier tomorrow, you should not be dependent on anyone.
So the first nuggets from Ms. Abhilasha today: financial empowerment. Be independent financially, all of you, especially the girls listening to us. Be
economic
financially
empowerment brings.
independent. You never know when it will come handy. Always have a skill in your kitty that you can put a good use to. Okay, moving on. How did you reach Dubai?
God works in mysterious ways, and God has different plans for you. So I was leading a school in northern India in Sonipat, and as part of the principals conference, I attended a principals conference in New Delhi. And the HR of the school that I worked in in Dubai earlier, that's the NIMS group, and I'm very thankful to NIMS for the leadership that I am today. So Mr. Salam was there, and he offered me his card, which I didn't pay attention to because it was just not in my plan that I was thinking of moving abroad. And next day when I went to school, Mr. Salam gave a call, and I started laughing because I said, okay. He said, how about moving? How about relocating? And like, okay, I'm listening. Let's talk what you have to offer. And that's it. Then I came to Dubai. I started with NIMS group of schools. I started as a head of section, girls in Dubai school. And I worked there till last November. So from 2015 to 2019, I was in NIMS. And then I moved to Abu Dhabi.
What would you share as that feather in your cap that you always hold very close to you? One of your success stories with a student of yours?
Another person that I am today is because of the rewards and awards that my students have brought me. The recognition that I have today as a successful teacher, and well, I will call myself a successful teacher. I will blow my trumpet and feel glad about it because I know the hard work that has gone into it. Why? Because my students are successful. I call myself successful because my students are successful. They are doing very well because of the journey that we have taken. One of the main platforms why I have got recognition is through Model UN. So the work that I have done with Model UN, and I was in Pine Grove in 2009, where I started my journey with MUN. So when I started in 2009, we started with not knowing what to do to reaching 2012 London MUN and winning the best international delegation, with my student winning the best international best delegate, and also a lot of other awards which went to the cumulative award of the best international delegate in London MUN, which is a global classroom UNA USA MUN, which is like pretty big. I didn't know at that time, but it is pretty big because you also learn with experience because there were all these big people. And of course, the venue was the International Maritime Organization. So we were in the UN, one of the sub-bodies of UN. So that's one. And then coming to Dubai, where I continued my journey, I introduced MUN to a New Union Model School. So we started MUN in 2015 in New Union Model School. So the girls were very excited. So the journey, like how we went to India to participate, then the girls came back. They started conducting the MUN in school. So we conducted the first inter-school MUN. And moving on from there, in 2018, I took a team of 5 students to YMUN, New York, USA. And YMUN is conducted by WAFUNA, that is the World Federation of United Nations Association. And it is a flagship event which is conducted in UNHQ NYC. Out of the 5 students that I was traveling with, 3 of them, 2 were selected as the vice presidents of their committee, 16 committees, so 2 were in the exit board. And one, Krishna Satish, in the 16 committees that were participating, each committee member had 1 person per committee. 1 speech was to be selected to address the UNGA in the opening ceremony. 1,000 delegates, jam-packed UNGA, and my girl was there on that green marble podium to deliver this speech as a delegate of Ecuador from her committee. This
Wonderful.
is huge.
It is huge. It is huge. I would be very keen in knowing the journey that Krishna had to take to reach there. For the viewers who are listening in, what is it that you trained Krishna on for her to reach that podium that day? What comprises the MUN in a school? What do you teach them? What do you train them on?
So, Anu, this is like, the prerequisite is, of course, communication skills and the willingness to learn. The willingness to put in extra effort, because MUN is a very intensive program. It's a beautiful platform. I love MUN because it empowers the children with a number of skills, not just one. And the biggest that it does for a student is the confidence to speak on a public platform. So there's a lot of research work that goes into planning and preparing. And the research is Internet Blue is a wide range of information overload, So they're how they analyze and then they synthesize that information into a 1-page document. And then, of course, how to deliver it.
Right. If you were to tell us some of the skills that the children learn as part of the MUN, which ones would they be? Obviously, you spoke about communication skills.
Analytical thinking, critical thinking.
Yes.
Social skill, which takes it is on the back burner. It is not well recognized, but then social skills are very important skills.
Absolutely.
Negotiation, to be able to put your argument forward and stand your ground.
Absolutely.
Not be scared in front of or facing the other argumentative. Articulation. Articulation is one of the most important skills a child, all of us should have. When I'm an English literature teacher, and we also train. We also guide the students to write their answers and script their answers for the board exams. So it is not like I always tell them that it's not a direct, straightforward answer that you need to give. You have to articulate your answer in a way that it is different from the rest at thousands that are writing the same answer. That's where you become different from the others. So that articulation again, and negotiation. Negotiation, being a diplomat, because this is something all who are listening and who love MUN, they would probably understand when I say that as a delegate, when a student participates, and as a delegate when it represents their own country, as a diplomat of their country, they are not just a diplomat of their own country. It's a dual responsibility that they have. Absolutely. They are representing their country, protecting, abiding by the foreign policy. But at the same time, they also have the responsibility of being the officer of the committee that they represent.
Right.
So, and this is especially important because in the UN4MUN format, which is the most, it is the most genuine form of a simulation of United Nations, because UN4MUN, or now known as the YMUN approach, is the way the UN functions. Right. So UN and USA are far removed from the way UN functions, and UN now is mainly all the resolutions that are passed, or majority of the resolutions that are passed, are on negotiations. They are on consensus. So there is no voting.
So if I were to say that students who take part in MUNs in their schools are the schools are equipping them twofold. One, you are preparing them for life, you're preparing them for a career, where they can excel. Second, for those children who really want to be a part of the United Nations, probably this is a very easy route to take. because the MUNs definitely lead into, if you are interested, you can network and become a part of the United Nations. Am I right?
Absolutely. Over here, I'd like to mention that in the school, in NIMS, a Union Model School, this is what was the motto, that the inspiration that I gave to the children, to the students. The school MUN school motto is from the school MUN to the real UN.
Yeah, you can see that the children who are trained in the MUNs are so much more confident and so with very good communication skills. And for all those of you who are listening in, if you have set your eyes in the United Nations, probably the MUN route is what you should be taking. Another thing that I would really want to discuss with you, Ms. Abhilasha, is your sustainability passion. You know, sustainability is probably the trend now. All around the world, we see people contributing to keeping their environment clean and preserving what is left of what we have spoiled, honestly. You are an ambassador for Teach SDG and SDG for Children and all that. How are you implementing the Sustainable Development Goals or Agenda 2030? And what has been the response from students and parents and the larger community?
Thank you, Anu, for asking this, because this is something very close to my heart. And it is sustainability is the need of the hour now. Like, because I announced to the world that Agenda 2030 is a collective responsibility.
Absolutely.
So we have a set of 17 goals, which the Millennium Development Goals were then, they were reframed. And in 2016, in September, the UN released the 17 goals, which were 30 earlier. And 2030 is the deadline for us, where we must achieve all these 17 goals. In January, when we looked at 2020, and we stated that 2030 gets the star ball rolling for the decade of action, because now these next 10 years are going to be impactful in achieving our Agenda 2030, and see that how close are we to doing that. Absolutely. And then now just imagine where we are in 2020 in lockdown, and how this again is nature's way of taking control and healing. So probably Absolutely. The climate action, the reverse climate action that we all had to prepare, and we had to sort of again put projects in plan. A part of it we are able to achieve.
Absolutely.
Marine life.
What are the initiatives that you have brought into your school?
So as a Teach SDG ambassador, first and foremost, I take it as a very personal responsibility to spread awareness about SDGs. So in the school, it goes in the form of a lot of actionable projects. So I absolutely hate it when teachers come to me and give me about, ma'am, we'll do a pledge and we'll do poster making. I said, that's not going to help it, because it just remains on paper. So we want actionable projects. So I would like to mention over here one program which I'm very, very fond of, and that is the DFC, Design for Change. It is started by Kiranbir Sethi. She's the principal of Riverside School in Ahmedabad, and she started this website called DFC, and it's a program. So it is a I can. So I can means I can make this change. So this I had attended at KHDA, and I came to the school and I spoke to the girls. Beautiful work came out of it. It was, and surprisingly, grade 7 students initiated it. They founded the program called Change Starts With You, and this was about recycling plastic water bottles, single-use plastic products in the school, and then make things out of that, artifacts and bird feeders and planters. Then was second year, they took up there was a lot of waste paper that gets collected in the school as print. So then they made recycled paper with it. So it was about mashing and then cold press and then new paper with it. So that was again a beautiful project, and we would make cards on it or bookmarks. So that paper was recycled paper.
That's amazing. For any change to happen in a community, it is very important that they buy into the change, right? If you were just telling them something, if they're not totally convinced, they will do it because you as the principal told them to do it. But how have you been so successful in in ensuring that the children not only buy into it, but they go back and they convince their parents, they convince the community. The change has to be collective. So how did you manage to become so successful in that?
You need to reach out to the kids. And it is something, rather than you telling them, look, do this, you need to sit with them.
Absolutely.
And you need to brainstorm.
Absolutely.
And design a program which appeals to them. So it is their work.
Absolutely.
So there is the success.
Very well said.
And I love working with the kids, and I'm very fortunate to have received a lot of love in NIMS. The children would actually I actually have seen that, anything that I would say, they would actually hang on to every word. And that's how we've been able to get a lot of good work done. Another important project that needs mentioning is the boys came up with a project of recycling of ablution water in the mosque. We have a mosque in the school, and this was a major. We took it to Deva as well, and it was much appreciated. So they made a prototype. In fact, it was a 3D model that they worked. That the amount of footfall that is there, and it's a large school. We have 6,500 students. So the footfall in the mosque. So it would work with something like the place near the water tank where the children use for ablution. The footfall there would be a machine under it that would trigger the filtration plant. So it was like a lot of sort of sustainable work where we did not need any input from outside, only the first financial bit. So once the prototype was ready, we took it to the management. And it was approved by the management. They financed it, and now successfully the ablution water is filtering, and there's a filtration plant, and that filtered water goes into the kitchen garden and the vegetable patch and the nearby garden too as a watering unit. So this is work. I mean, this is workable. This is working in
sustainability in action. Over this half an hour that I've spoken to you, you have told students to be financially independent, to be empowered financially, and also the fact that it is so important to have leadership skills, to be successful in life. To be confident, to have those communication skills, to have negotiation skills, to be a good team leader, team player. And you have also very passionately spoken to us about your sustainability actionable projects, which some of them that you mentioned are working so beautifully. I mean, you are doing your bit towards sustainability, towards SDG as an ambassador. What would your message be to those who are watching us, to our viewers? What would your message be? What would you like them to do? How would you translate your vision to them?
Anu, one thing as a teacher that I have learned is that how teachers, we impact lives.
Absolutely.
When I was a young teacher, this is something that I have learned over the years. The beauty is, the nicer part is that when they remember you, they come back to you. They want to talk to you, and they want to meet you. I feel so blessed that I must have done something good, that the kids want to take out time to come and meet me. So this is about impact. So as a human being, if you've not left an impact on one person at least, then I think we need to rethink our life, and we need to check that what are we doing? Are we only living for ourselves? So this is something that the future of the world that we call our young generation, that they are the future of tomorrow, they have to sit and think that what are they going to live for? A definition of life well lived or doing well in life, is it related only to having an accumulation in the bank balance, as a bank balance, or you're making a difference to somebody's life?
Absolutely.
So there, when we see, I have a lot of faith in my students. I have a lot of confidence in their abilities, and I see them as global change makers. So what students need? They need support. They require their voices need amplification, because as a little self, they sometimes feel very overwhelmed, and with the study pressure and the parents not listening to them. So teachers need to become that voice for them, need to become that amplifier for them. And you will see that once you have empowered the student with your children with that confidence, then you only need to be at the back, giving them that support wherever required with resources. Or like I used to tell them that to give you printouts from my office and shout at you from time to time. Otherwise, the rest of the work the children did themselves beautifully. And that's where your success story is. That's where your impact is.
Wow.
And this is how they go on to impact the world. So not live selfishly, but to think about the others and add meaning to your life.
Amazing. I'm reminded of the quote by Rita Pearson. Every child needs a champion. And I think from what I've heard about you, I've heard from you, you have been able to impact so many students. And to all those teachers listening out there, every year, so many students pass through your hands. And it is up to you to impact them in ways in which they will become influencers later on in their lives. And to those students who are listening, wherever you may be, whichever career you choose, you still have the opportunity to make an impact, to leave a legacy behind. Because this world has space for everybody, and there is something that each one of us can do to make a difference. And anybody who needs a little bit of motivation, get in touch with Ms. Abhilasha, because she's been able to inspire so many students to become better people. It is really a pleasure talking to you, Ms. Abhilasha. I really enjoyed my time with you. And I hope you go on to inspire many, many more people with your vision. And together, we will definitely achieve Agenda 2030.
Thank you so much, Anu. Thanks a lot. Because the person that I am today is because of certain people in my life. And one of the biggest change makers in my life has been Captain AJ Singh, who is the headmaster of Pine Grove School. The leader I am today is because of his leadership. Because from him, I have learned that good leaders create leadership in others. And of course, it would be very unjustified if I don't remember my mother today, my parents here, because my mother has been a huge source of inspiration and that push that mothers give you. And still, she's my biggest critique. So that's for all mothers. So thanks for that. And thank you so much, Anu, for inviting once again and having these conversations. And I admire your work and admire what PeoplePro is doing for especially for the parents. I mean, you're very selflessly you engage parents in activities, because a lot of organizations that I have seen, this is one segment that is neglected, and parents also require a lot of support. Let's not forget that.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to you, and I admire your work that you're doing. So all the best for that. All the best for that.
Thank you.